My history with PRS goes back to, I believe, 1990 or 91 when I got my first CE bolt-on, and fell in love with it right away. And I was playing almost exclusively PRS in that decade. I mean, I still had my Strat and a couple of other guitars, but I had probably 4 or 5 different models, mostly the CE bolt-ons. I really liked those the best. And then PRS custom built one model with piezo in it. That was the first piezo guitar that I had that was so effective at that time. And that was in that was early 93 or 94. So it's been a long, what's 25 years, if you believe it. Well, I've been in touch with Jack over the years, and he I gotta say, he's a terrific guy. And I'm not saying that just because I'm looking at you talking, but we get along really, really well, and he's a very thoughtful man. He got me, well, he provided a couple of the Angelus series guitars for me just to check out on the last tour to take on the road with me. And I absolutely fell in love with them. They sounded so great. They were so easy to play. Intonation was precise. I mean, I really, really loved it. And, you know, I play a lot in the course of a day, 3-hour show, you know, about half hour before the show warm up, and then 40 minutes or so in sound check. So it's a lot, but I took that guitar every night to the hotel, and I would sit and I'd play, you know, until I was ready to go to sleep. It was just so much of a pleasure to play. You know, the way I like to use acoustic guitars, I think I have to divide it in two. The live application is one thing. It's a different environment. It's about work. So I need very particular specs on that guitar. It's got to be able to obviously sound good live. The piezo has to work well because we don't mic it. It has to have a good balance. Playability, you know, all of those things that are just a little more acute, you know. But sitting around at home, like before the tour started, I was warming up for a few months. I like to rehearse for the rehearsals so that we can then rehearse before the tour. You know, we do, you know, it's like 6 weeks of full band rehearsals, and we all prep for a month or two before that. So at home, what I did is I had all these guitars. I had the SE models. I had 2 of those at home, plus my signature model. So I had 4 of these guitars set up on my couch, all different tunings. And I would go in and sit almost every night after dinner. I just play for 2 or 3 hours. Play one for a little while, put it down, pick up the other one, play that. And the thing I love about alt tunings is you don't recognize anything, you know, that typically you would do. So everything is new and fresh, and it's really a lot of fun. You can make it a little more jangly. You can make it a little more atonal. It's like really a great thing. And the tonality of all the guitars is really, really great. And you can see that they're all from the same family. Yeah, the R40 tour started in early May of this year. As I said, we started rehearsing full band rehearsals at the beginning of April, and I think the first date was May 7th or 8th. So the tour is going really, really well. It's a retrospective. It's our 40th anniversary, so we're deconstructing the set, going from the present into the very past, right to the beginning of the band, and even before the beginning, as everyone knows us, in 1974. We're actually even playing a little snippet of one of the very first songs we wrote, and Garden Road it's called, and I think we wrote that in 1969. So it's kind of fun to throw that a little bit in, and it's amazing to see how many people recognize it. But the tour is doing really, really well, which is great. We're really enjoying ourselves. Everybody's in good health. Find some wood to knock on. We're enjoying playing immensely, but at the same time, we're talking about maybe curtailing, or at least minimizing our tour schedule a little bit. It's been 40 years. It's a long time, and we do have other things in our lives that we'd like to make more of a priority. Family, for example, and so we'll see. I think that we felt a little more inclined that way before the tour started. Now that we're actually out here and having a great time and seeing the kind of response this tour is getting, that maybe it's maybe we're a little bit premature, but we'll see. The difference this tour over past tours is more actually superficial. The staging is quite different. There's a lot of staging going on, and as I mentioned earlier, we were deconstructing the stage, so we're going through stage setups from the past. So we'll pull up for these few songs what the stage setup was then, the kind of amps we used, and then as we go back further, the amp line changes. It goes back to the 60s, through the 80s, and then through the 70s, so that it finally arrives at the very beginning when Ged and I had one little trainer amp sitting on a stool in a school gymnasium, when that was the kind of gigs that we played almost exclusively for $35 a night. In terms of hard equipment, it hasn't changed too much for me over the years. I still use the same amp that Mojo Tones developed for me, which is called the Lurkst Omega. And it's a great sounding amp, if I may say so myself. We sell it. And it provides the dirtier, hard-driven portion of my sound. And then I use a Mesa Boogie Mark V for the cleaner stuff. And then the effects, I use a Fractal for pretty well all my effects. I used to have individual effects, and we've consolidated everything into a nice, very compact package. So in that sense, most of that's basically stayed the same. And I've used Palmer speaker simulators for 25 years at least, instead of miking cabinets on stage. So I have no guitar sound per se on stage, as Ged has no bass sound on stage. Really, it's just the drums that are the acoustic sounding instrument on stage, and everything else is running through the PA. So that provides much more control on stage. There's greater clarity when it's all coming out of the PA. You're not combating with time delay from the amps on stage and the PA out here. So it's much more controlled, and I think on a day-to-day basis, way easier to deal with.